Netflix?
I might have. I've got.
It's a brand new video that his daughter did.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm going to look for it. I have a lot of memorabilia on Yogi Berra, lots of autographed baseballs. I have
Well,
all
we
his
are ready to
baseball
rock
cards.
and roll, so let's go. Happen to begin. Welcome to Leaders Worldwide Online Toastmasters Club. A club mission: we provide a supportive and positive learning experience in which members are empowered to develop communication and leadership skills, resulting in greater self-confidence and personal growth. And authentic. Core values: integrity, respect, service, and excellence. We are Leaders Worldwide Toastmasters, where leaders are made. Well, that was a really great video, and I forgot to share the sound. So I am sorry about that. I can play it again, but unfortunately, we are going to start. We're just going to keep pressing on. So let's go to our president, Rosemary Sweeney. Rosemary?
Thank you, Toastmaster Alex. Good evening. I guess it's good evening all. I mean, it is good night because it's late. And you, it is very early, still early night still. And this evening, we are going to have a very powerful meeting. We are going to learn a lot. We have two great speakers. I know we are in for a treat. But before we can go into a meeting, I would like to hear from our guests. So let us hear from distinguished Toastmaster Greg Scott.
Good day, everybody. It's a pleasure to be here as your guest, and I look forward to your meeting and listening to your speakers. Thank you for the invite.
Welcome. We have another guest. We have a family guest, and that's Toastmaster Michelle. She's part of our family. Just tell us something, Toastmaster Michelle, distinguished Toastmaster Michelle.
Thank you, Rosemary. I'm delighted to be visiting Leaders Worldwide and getting a chance to practice my evaluation skills because I'm going to be heading out to the division competition a week from Thursday. So I am so grateful to have an opportunity to practice. Back to you.
Welcome, Toastmaster Steve.
And my name's Steve today, and I'm delighted that I was invited by Cynthia to practice my evaluation because I will be, if you come to that speech contest on the 28th, you will see both Michelle and me competing in the contest. And I'm delighted to get a chance to practice tonight.
Thanks for coming. And that's what I love about Toastmasters. We compete among ourselves and we enjoy it and help each other to compete against us. Do you know another amazing organization such as this? So distinguished Toastmaster Paul.
Rosemary, thank you ever so much for the invitation to say hello to everybody. I'm delighted to be visiting the club again. I'm going to learn a lot this evening because I'm going to be competing in a evaluation contest on Thursday. So I've got a lot to learn, but also I'm going to be competing in a speech contest. Well, I mean, the international speech contest on Thursday. So I'm thrilled to be here. It's now 25 to 1 in the morning in Ireland. Oh. And this is being with you. Thanks
for coming. and giving
President.
us your precious sleeping time. And I will now call on our guest speaker, Toastmaster Pat, to just tell us something as a guest, not as a speaker.
Well, thank you so much for inviting me to be part of your meeting today. I believe that this is the second time that I've visited your club and had the privilege to being asked to speak. So I'm looking forward to seeing some familiar faces as I explore the screen tonight, as well as meeting some new people. So welcome everyone. And I'm currently in Halifax, Nova Scotia, on the very extreme east side of Canada. So it's 9:30 in the evening for me.
Okay. And I welcome all our guests and our members, and I thank you for gracing us with your presence. And do not be a stranger to our meetings. Please attend our meetings. We love having visitors. At this time, I will call on our Toastmaster of the meeting. Here is our Toastmaster.
That's me, and I'm also the Zoom host, so I'm trying to do two things as once.
Okay.
All right. Well,
Let us make him feel welcome, Toastmaster Alex.
welcome everybody. This is my first time being Toastmaster, so if I'm going to do it, I might as well do it with the highest people I can. Former international President Pat Johnson. So when I screw up, or if I screw up, it was done on purpose and not by mistake, because there are no mistakes. But I want to welcome all the guests, as well as all our members, to this pretty unique meeting, especially since a lot of our time is pretty valuable. I do want to just go over what the theme is. You know, spring is here and spring has sprung, and nothing says spring like baseball. And one of my favorite players is Yogi Berra, and I think it's probably pretty much everybody knows who he is if they're an American. And he has many, many Yogiisms, but I think when we have the speakers that we have today, we need to, pay attention, because they give a lot of information. And that's why today's theme is you can observe a lot by just watching. And listening to a speaker is one thing, but listening to the speaker is another. And I think that's really important for us. And I really do believe that every time we do speak, we not only have to listen with our ears, but listen with our head as well. So let's kick things off with our general evaluator, who is also our president. Rosemary, it's back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Toastmaster of the meeting. With Toastmasters, not only do we encourage each other to compete against us, but we always work as a team. And as general evaluator, there's a team. I have a team working with me who will be helping me. So at this time, I call on our grammarian to tell us about her role and introduce the word of the day. Let's make her feel welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. Our word, well, first of all, my job is to listen to your speeches, to your impact on our visibility, and judge, pick out words that perhaps are less useful, like but things that don't work at all, and perhaps when you realize you're doing it, we can shorten the repetition and get them to disappear eventually. So our word of the day at this point is assessment. And that's when we're viewing someone speaking, we want to know visually, audibly, how they're delivering it in their bodies, in their minds, and in their mouth. And that is what assessment, to see the whole speech at once and find out how effective it was, or how much more effective it could be. with a little more skill. So thank you so much. I'll be listening to your ahs, ems, ands, buts, and other odd necessary words, and we'll see how we come out at the end of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much to our grammarian. And at this time, I will call on our timer, Toastmaster Denise.
You're muted, Denise.
Yeah, okay.
See, I didn't have sound and you're muted.
You're muted. Kindly unmute your mic. Your mic is muted.
Hello, I'm Denise de Gregoire. I'm your timer for tonight, and my job is to time your speeches and let you know when you've hit the minimum. I'll hit green. When you've hit midpoint, I'll put up yellow, and the end time, I'll put up red, where you're going to have 30 seconds to wrap. So our timing for this evening, speaker number 1 is going to be 10 to 12 minutes. At 10 minutes, I'll put up green. At 11 minutes, I'll put up yellow, and then at 12 minutes, I'll put up red, and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap. Evaluator 1, the evaluator for speech 1 is going to be 2 to 3 minutes. You'll have 2 minutes. Minimum will be green, 2.5 yellow, 3 red. And you'll have 30 seconds to wrap. Speaker number 2, it calls for 5 to 10 minutes. However, we're going to give 8 to 10. So speaker number 2 is going to be 8 minutes green, 9 minutes yellow, 10 minutes red with 30 seconds. And then we're going to immediately follow by Q&A. So we're going to have a question and answer, which will be 10 to 12 minutes. At 10 minutes green, 11 minutes yellow, 12 minutes red, and we'll have 30 seconds to wrap. We're going to follow that by the evaluation 2, which will be 2 to 3 minutes, 2 minutes green, 2.5 minutes yellow, and at 3 minutes, I'll put up a red, and you'll have 30 seconds to wrap. Back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster de Gregoire. Let us give her a round of applause. Based on what you have heard from my amazing team, your assessment must be, this is a great team, and we're going to have a great meeting. At this time, I return over to your lectern to our Toastmaster of the meeting.
Too many buttons today. Too many buttons today. So we need to get our first speaker of the day is going to be Maya Catherine, and we'll get her up in just
No,
a
you're
second.
going to call her evaluator to read the objectives.
Okay, how about we do that then? Michelle, why don't you read the objectives?
Maya Catherine is completing her path presentation mastery, and she is giving her speech reflect on your path, which is a 10 to 12 minute speech. Back to you, Alex, for her introduction.
All right. The nice thing about this, it ain't over till it's over, right? And it's going to be over. So Maya Catherine, let's see what she has to say. I just want to get you up here real quick. There we go. Maya Catherine is an emotional health and emotional wellness expert and advocate. She's an author, a speaker, and certified emotional intelligence practitioner and writing coach. Maya believes that anyone can thrive in life, even after hardship. With emotional healing and mindset regimens, Maya is passionate about guiding those who, like her, wish to share their story to motivate, inspire, and empower others. Maya Catherine, mastering your presentation, Maya Catherine.
Hear me?
We can hear you now.
Okay, cool. After months of scheduling speeches, I finally am getting to the end of my path. I am so happy And this is a moment that I've been waiting for. So I'm celebrating tonight, and I'm hoping that you help me celebrate as well. It has been a long journey of learning, adjusting, reflecting on my presentation skills, on my speaking skills. But it has also been a journey of self-discovery, of finding who I am as a speaker, of personal development, and of growth. Most importantly, it's been an incredible journey of great connections. If you see me looking on the side for a little bit, it's not because I'm reading, but I'm going to talk about some steps in the pathway, and I just want to make sure that I say the term correctly. So I just want to let you know in advance, this is what I'm doing. So have I mastered presentations? I don't know, but I know that it's been a long journey, and I'm not the same person who started the process a year and some time ago. I remember my first project, an icebreaker, where I was rather timid, and I was just focused on introducing myself to a wonderful group of speakers that I looked up to. That sounded incredible. That was a long way from my second icebreaker and my second pathway, in which I created a game called 5 Truths and a Lie. And I was able to use my creativity to make that my icebreaker unique. That's what I love about Toastmasters. You are able to follow the steps while putting your own stamp on things, while showing who you are. So the pathway presentation mastery, as I said, has taught me a lot. After the icebreaker, I learned a lot with speaking with purpose. I also learned about vocal variety and body language. I learned about the power of the pause, to allow my audience to reflect on the questions or two that I was asking, or also to create an intimate relationship with them by getting closer to them and showing them like it's almost like we're singing in a circle. With body language, I learned to use props. I learned to use my hands. And I learned to use my environment as part of my speech. The next step of the path brought me to managing disruptions, a step that my kids were too happy to help me rehearse, as they were happy to play the person on the phone, the person disrupting, and even my dog participated. It was quite an experience. I learned a lot, but also I got great connections, as I said before. One of the highlights of my pathway was a keynote that I gave in Pakistan. And that was, I think, at 1 or 2 in the morning, where at first I was a little nervous because the audience was all professional people and mostly men. And here I was talking about how my hardships became my greatest teachers. As Alex said, I am an emotional healing coach, and I speak on healing your childhood wounds. And I wondered, was that audience going to connect with me? Well, little did I know, I had so many questions after the keynote that I had to get questions in my email. That experience really, really humbled me and made me realize that everybody is human. And as long as somebody has a heart, everybody hurts the same, everybody loves the same, and wants to heal the same. So we were all part of the human family, and that whatever I had to say resonated not only here, but resonated all over the world. It was an experience I will never forget, and I think Cynthia and DTM oh my gosh, our past president. I can't remember the name right now, but thank you so much for, helping me put that together. My path concluded with projects such as focusing on thinking of the positive. That was easy for me to do because that's usually what I do in my speeches. Also, I learned that part of the evolution in the pathway was realizing that my Toastmasters family was an important part of me succeeding in my pathway. I'm sitting here with gratitude for my mentor, Cynthia, for all the people who evaluated me, for the Sally, the grammarian that made me reduce my ums and ahs, and for the timers that kept me on path and made sure that I stuck to the schedule. All of those things came on and helped me become a better presenter. So I go back to a question that I asked before. Did I master presentation? I don't know. I'm part of a training right now where people have been speaking for years and they say they're always nervous before a speech, although they are paid thousands to speak. So I guess mastering maybe not the goal here. Because if you say you haven't mastered something, then you're not acknowledging your gains and your progress. But if you say you've mastered it, then you're not leaving yourself room for improvements. And I love learning. I'm a forever student. So have I mastered? I don't know. But I know that I love presenting. And I know that I'm more confident at presenting. I know that I have some steps that I can follow when I'm presenting. I know how to use vocal variety and body language. I know that I should focus on my audience and try to make sure that I look at the camera so I could speak to people as if I'm talking to them individually. I learned to watch my timing, but not be too frazzled if I'm a little bit under or a little bit over, unless I want to win a competition, which I was able to participate to as well. I'm grateful for all the other clubs that allowed me to speak and to check boxes off of my path. So if I had to say anything today, the jury is out on whether or not I mastered presentation. But judging by how I feel, how confident I am, how happy I am and joyful I am in speaking, I think I passed the class. What do you think? My next pathway is motivational strategies. I did my icebreaker, and I'm looking forward to completing that as well. I don't know how many pathways I'm gonna do, but for whoever's listening who's not a Toastmaster yet, I strongly encourage you to take a pathway or 2 or 3. It doesn't only involve improving your speech and your speaking skills. It also involves connecting with wonderful people, people from Ireland, people from everywhere around the world, people from Pakistan. It also involves knowing your strengths and your weaknesses and getting better every day. It involves appreciating your mentors and appreciating your unofficial mentors, like everybody that gives you feedback during your speech. It also involves trying to stretch a speech 10 minutes, which I'm trying to do right now, but that comes with the territory. You have to take all the time that you have. So if part of my speech is to encourage others to have pathways, then I'm happy to use it for that. But I think I'm gonna probably wrap it up right now. So I hope the little green button comes quickly. But in closing, I'm really happy to have taken the pathway. I'm happy to have joined Toastmasters. I'm grateful for all the people that have helped me complete this path. And I'm looking forward to completing other paths and to see where my journey takes me in Toastmasters. Thank you all for your support. Thank you for your inspiration. And I'm excited to see what the future holds. Mr. Toastmaster of the Day, back to you.
Thank you so much, Maya Catherine. And Denise, could you please put 1 minute of silence on the clock?
Time.
Okay, so we are going to be doing something a little bit different for our club. We are going to have Maya Catherine come back up because we are going to have Michelle do her evaluation of you. Let me get off of the virtual lectern. Here you go.
Can you hear me? Yes. A quote of mine that is favorite is, the people will remember, will forget what you say, they will forget what you do, but they will never forget how you make them feel. And that was by Maya Angelou. This is really important in giving an evaluation. I want to motivate and inspire you. And to that end, I'm going to point out the best that you did and give you the best things I can that will help you to improve your speech. To begin with, great subject, your experience in completing your very first path. And it is clear that you are very excited. So I'm going to talk first about your content. And your content was really good. You talked about a number of things that you got out of it, how it changed you, how it helped you connect with other people, how it taught you how to use your stage, to use vocal variety, and how it taught you to grow. These are great things about the path, and you covered them all. Great content. And you used your hands, and sometimes you brought them up. What I would suggest is you start to become aware of where your hands are and give yourself a little more space so that you can see the hands all the time, because sometimes they drop down. In delivery, you used humor. Well done. Humor is one of the more challenging things to manage. And the humor you used was how your children jumped in there to help you learn how to deal with motivation. Awesome. Also, let's see, vocal variety. You gave an example of vocal variety and you whispered. So to suggest a little improvement, when you whisper, get closer in. So people, you look right in the camera. Some other things that you could use. You mentioned at the beginning kind of what your points were. Keep your points to about 3 points because people have a hard time remembering more. And at the end, you remembered to repeat them. Thank you so much, because I would have not remembered all of them if you hadn't. So that was really excellent. So overall, great speech. Love that you use the pause. Love your vocal variety. Love your enthusiasm and your smile. Just keep your points down to maybe 3 points, and maybe tell us a little story about each one. That will help you fill out your content and have you give a great speech. Awesome. I look forward to seeing you do more speaking. I want to see you in the international speech competition. That will really help you. Back to you, Mr. Toastmaster.
Well, that was great. And thank you both, ladies. You know, as the Toastmaster of the day, as the first time, it's all about a team. And you find out really quickly how everybody has strengths and weaknesses. And we're trying to put people in positions to be successful. And I think it's nice to see Michelle. She used to be part of our club as she's fixing her chair. And it's so nice to see you as well as everybody else. But now we have our keynote speaker. And, you know, one of the things that I've always tried to emulate, and I talked about Yogi Berra before, is determination, leadership, and he was a catcher. So he was the quarterback of the whole entire team. And I think nobody embodies that probably more than the next two people. You're probably saying the next two people. Well, I might be breaking protocol here, and I really don't care because I asked for permission. I ask for forgiveness and not permission sometimes. But instead of me introducing our keynote speaker, I want somebody that knows her a little bit better than me, and I think would be a better choice to do this. So Cynthia, could you introduce our keynote speaker for tonight?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Can we have her evaluator first, which I would also like to introduce him.
Oh, I
He's
forgot.
Yeah, but it's perfect because I know Steve really well because he helped me save Heart to Heart. So I'm very grateful to him because he brought me another amazing leader, James Jeffley, to be our president of Heart to Heart and save it. So without Heart to Heart, we would never have leaders worldwide. So please help me welcome our distinguished evaluator for our distinguished speaker, and this is past district director Steve Today, distinguished Toastmaster. Please welcome him.
Thank you for the kind words, Cynthia. Pat's project is to inspire your audience. And the purpose of Pat's speech is for her to practice writing and delivering a speech that inspires others. The purpose of the speech is for Pat to inspire the audience. Pretty straightforward, and we can be certain that after Pat finishes the speech tonight, we're going to be inspired. Back to you, Cynthia.
Thank you, Steve. And that's absolutely true. Let me introduce Pat Johnson. Can we pull her up to the virtual stage here? Great. Awesome. Well, I'm just going to say my personal welcome. I wanted you so badly to speak at our club again. And I asked you to speak at our anniversary last October, but you were taking this amazing trip around the world and we couldn't book you. So I'm so glad that we were able to tap in and book you. And one of the main reasons that I booked you was because you lead from the heart. You not only talk about it, you walk the walk, talk the talk, and be the example. And last time that you came, I'm getting teary-eyed. Last time you came to Leaders Worldwide, you sang a beautiful song for us that's called Lead with Your Heart. And you sang it with your whole heart. And it really made me know that you're in this for the real reasons. You're not in it for your own glory or your ego. You're here to help Toast. And I really wanted you to be here to share your leadership lessons with us. So let me introduce you by what you gave to us. And it's a little bit long, but they're so juicy. I want to read every single word. Pat Johnson joined Toastmasters International in 1983 in rural northern Manitoba, Canada. During her 4 decades of continuous learning and membership in Toastmasters, she has spoken in a long list of countries around the world as a keynote speaker and educator. Pat served as District 21 Distinguished District Governor in 2001 to 2002, International Director from 2004 to 2006 from Region 1, International President of Toastmasters International in 2001 to 2010 to 2011, Learning Master Manager for the curriculum design of our Pathways program. So Maya Catherine, you said you loved Pathways. You can have Pat to thank for that, at least to be on the major team that led that effort. So she's been helping us all along the way. And District Host Chair for International Convention in Vancouver, British Columbia, Canada in 2017. She is also the recipient of Toastmasters President's Citation Award, which is awarded for outstanding leadership and communication on a global level. Pat wrote and published Building the Sustaining Vibrant and Sustainable Toastmasters Programs in Corporations in 2018 and launched this book at the International Convention in Chicago, Illinois, USA that same year. Pat went on to become the Region 10 advisor for Europe and the UK in 2020, 2021, Region 2 advisor for Northern California, North America in 2021-22, and co-chair and chair of the International Disciplinary Committee 2023 to 2024. She is the current member at large responsible for special events at her home club, Rise and Shine number 331, which meets on site in Victoria. I love Victoria, British Columbia, Canada. Please join me in welcoming Pat Johnson, distinguished Toastmaster, past international president, for her presentation entitled Leadership is an Inside Job. Please make her feel welcome. Woo!
Thank you so much for that introduction. I feel like half my speaking time is over. Fellow Toastmasters and leadership colleagues, Jim Clemmer, a leadership guru and fellow Canadian, recently wrote that management is a way of doing things, processes, systems, procedures, methodologies. Each one of us has learned many of these skills over our time in Toastmasters and will continue to do so during our journey. We must be able to manage in order to be a leader. Jim went on to differentiate leadership as a way of being, our emotions, the values we have and uphold, a culture that we create and are part of, as well as our continuous personal development. As I sat down to reflect on my leadership journey and prepare for this presentation, I found myself drawn to 3 specific circumstances that were profoundly impactful during my leadership journey. Each one of them relates to developing my leadership from that heart perspective, or my way of being. Leadership, for me, is an inside job. So I invite you to come along and let's revisit some of those events that at the time of their happening didn't reveal any earth-shattering lessons, but delivered profoundly to me as I reflected on them, impacting my way of being, how I show up, and my leadership. So let me ask you to get started. Have you ever had the opportunity to walk across a field of new fallen snow? Oh, I know in California, no snow, perhaps a clean beach, and you turned back and looked and you could track your path across it? I've discovered that it's when we stop and look back at that path that we've taken that our experiences we can see, and that we're actually able to visually see and understand our lessons and the path that we've been on. We gain perspective. Imagine the year is 1991. I had my first DTM. I was a past club officer several times, an 8-year Toastmaster, past area director of the year, and past division director. We had just moved to British Columbia and settled into a new life, which for me included Toastmasters. I joined a club, got involved, and decided that I wanted to be part of this new district leadership team that I had recently moved to. I personally felt prepared to run for club growth director, but I didn't say anything to anyone. Nobody in this new district really knew who I was or what I had accomplished, but I knew. During their spring conference, nominations for club growth were called for, and I raised my hand. Brian also ran, and he won the election. No surprise, I would run again next year. 1 year later, Brian, our current club growth director, decided not to run for program quality director, and I jumped right in. And without letting anyone know again, I ran from the floor for the PQD election. Big surprise! I lost again. I had had enough. If they didn't want me, they wouldn't get me. I busied myself with other activities in Toastmasters, developing my speaking skills, club leadership skills, club coaching and mentoring, workshop presentations, and working on teams for TLIs and conferences and other events. About 5 years later, a newly elected district director had our club growth director resign about 2 months into his term. My friend, that district director, called me and asked me to accept the appointment to the club growth director's role. I said no. She repeated her ask, and I repeated my no. If they didn't want me, they wouldn't get me. My friend helped me to reflect on my ego and pride that was saying no this time. And although I did not accept the appointment at that time from her, I did eventually run for CGD the following year. But I did not run from the floor. I did it differently based on my reflections. I notified the nominating candidate committee of my intentions. I put in the work, and I pushed myself out of my comfort zone by asking members to support me. I shared my achievements to date and my vision for the future with them. And when the election day came, I was elected. Have you ever had a similar experience to that? When you thought you were ready or it was your turn, but that door didn't open for you. That door that you figuratively knocked on, it didn't open. And maybe when you went back to it later, it didn't open again, or it might have, like it did for me. What had I done differently that caused that door to figuratively open that time? The leadership lesson I learned was that until I believed I was capable, that I was willing to commit and be vulnerable with the people and build trust, nobody else would believe that I was able to be their leader. I had to develop my way of being, my leadership, before they could see and trust me as their leader. And now, when I look back at that history, I can clearly see that path of progress and development, just like looking back at my footsteps left in that field of newly fallen snow. The second leadership lesson that I share with you tonight is that of speaking from our heart, not our head. The year was 2006. I was the visiting international director at my home district conference, and I had just finishing delivering a keynote presentation. Suzanne, a Maori woman from my district, reached her arms out to me, took hold of me, and said, "Pat, you will be a great leader if you learn to speak from your heart instead of your head." Would you have known what she meant if she had said that to you? Well, I certainly didn't know, and I told her so. She simply smiled back at me and offered to come to my house the next weekend and we could begin work. I agreed. Plans were made, she arrived, and the instructions were explained. She said, "Walk and talk." And I said, "About what?" "Anything, just talk. And I'll let you know when you're speaking from your head or when you're speaking from your heart." This made no sense to me, but I trusted her, and so we began. I walked and talked while she would insert, "Now you're in your head. Oh, and now you're in your heart." This went on all day long, and it didn't make much sense, but one thing happened. As the day wore on, I started to notice subtle differences. I started to feel the difference between head and heart. I started to hear the difference between my head voice and my heart voice. And I was able to shift from one to the other. Well, almost. One of the easiest tools for you to use for me was to put my hand over my heart. This, with practice, started me to be able to move into my heart and out of my head. Today, I use this technique with my coaching clients when I'm working with them on being real, to get connected to their heart. And I use it myself to ensure that I'm a heart-centered leader, that I'm speaking from my heart, and that I'm in the moment and real with each one of you. Thank you, Suzanne, for that rare lesson that is permanently etched on my heart. Speak from your heart, not your head. The final and third lesson requires us to reflect and monitor ourselves on an ongoing basis to ensure that we're authentic. So, how do we define authentic? I always find with this one of those squiggly words. How do we know that we're the real deal, as they say? Well, I looked it up in the Webster Dictionary, and it said that being genuine, bona fide, being actually and exactly as described. For me, this happened when I quit writing down my presentations word for word. I demanded that I trusted myself, that I would find the right words. And I allowed my authenticity to show up just as it was, in my imperfections. But what if that was perfectly me? This was a huge step towards my authenticity. We can call on ourselves, each one of us, to be kind, patient, courageous, and be real. Be authentic so people know who we are and who to expect when we come into the room. Fellow Toastmasters and leadership colleagues, I'm grateful that last week I read Jim Clemmer's thoughts on leadership skills and how they related to our way of being. And I'm grateful that this meandering led me to reflect on and explore how I, and perhaps you also, could impact our values, culture, personal growth, and emotions that have become part of our leading from the inside out, from our heart. Fellow Toastmasters.
Thank you, Pat. And now we'll have Steve step up. Where did he go? There he went. And he can give you your evaluation. Where did he
Don't
go?
you give him a minute?
Oh, no. No, it didn't say that. It said it after. But I'll give you a minute if you want a minute. I'm just going by the agenda, guys.
Oh, and Q&A. That's right. Next is Q&A, and then the minute is silent, and then Steve. I think. We have a little bit different agenda tonight. So
I'm not sure who's going to.
It's actually the Q&A and then the minute.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be the evaluation. It was supposed to be the.
So I'll take any questions that anyone has for me. And I know Denise will let us know the time. DeMarie?
So I was so inspired by your speech. I don't really have a question, but I just wanted to say thank you and congratulations. You have been an inspiration. And with this being Women's History Month, it could not have been a better speaker. And somewhere along the way, I'm sure there's been an assessment of you and your abilities and your skills throughout your life, and you've met the challenge. So thank you so much for being with us this evening.
Thank you so much. I so appreciate that. Thank you. Thank you.
Anybody
Questions? Want to have a chat about anything? Cynthia.
yeah. I love that your mentor had you practice or display just walking and talking, and now I'm in the head, now I'm in my heart. It was almost like you had biofeedback, but it was human biofeedback. So how was that experience, and what has shifted since that time? And how long ago was that?
Yeah, that was probably, I was international director in 2004 to 6. So it would have been at the end of 2006 because I was just finishing up as international director. Suzanne was a very spiritual Maori woman, and I knew her. We had a relationship in terms of a friendship, and we would have discussion. But when she made that comment to me, I honestly didn't understand it. When she said, you'd be a great leader someday if you learned how to speak from your heart. And I'm going, those are words that my head doesn't understand. It was like a foreign language to me. And as she tried to explain it to me, I'm just looking blankly at her. So then she offered to come to my place. And we honestly did. She walked in, she put her coat down, and she said, okay, start walking and talking. And I'm going to tell you, because this is not an intellectual exercise, this is an experiential. You have to figure out what it feels like. And I literally walked and talked for hours that day. And she walked behind me. And every once in a while she'd say, now you're in your head. Can you feel it? Oh, and then you just came down into your heart. She'd say, can you hold it there? Can you keep speaking from your heart? And then she taught me to put my hand on my heart, and it helped me stay in my heart. So it was really profound. I have never had anybody share that kind of an exercise with me before or since. it hugely changed me because I still practice this and I bring it to my coaching practice. So if I'm getting really cerebral, like because this was a project speech and I wrote this speech and put it together, I started getting really in my head about, was I saying it right? Was I doing it right? Or was it wrong? And I got into all this judgment of right and wrong. And this afternoon, I just put my hand on my heart and I went, what's this all about? And it just brought me back to the present moment. And so it's just like if you practice prayer, when you bow your head or close your eyes, whatever the trigger is, you go to that place of solitude. If you meditate, you assume the position, you go to that place. If I put my hand on my heart, I can feel myself just get grounded. So it was very, very profound. And I think it's the most difficult leadership lesson that I've learned, that I continue to practice, and that it is very elusive. As soon as the ego or the right or wrong or being better or improving or mastering, as Maya talked about, as soon as that gets in my way, I lose my heart, and I have to, because then it becomes all about performance rather than being with you. And so then I have to go back and I have to start over again. So yeah. Thanks, Cynthia. Sorry for the long answer.
No, that's excellent. And that's actually a key to how I won the evaluation contest. I spoke from my heart, and I thought of my speaker as my beloved.
Yeah.
So thank you.
Fantastic. Greg Scott, the difficult man. Just so everybody knows, Greg and I work on a committee together and we have a great relationship. Very respectful. He's difficult, and so am I with one another.
Do I have to put him back into the audience or something, Pat?
Yeah, yes. Greg, you have a question.
Yes, I just wanted to share that this speech spoke loudly to a possible future for TLI openings. I think World Headquarters ought to tape this speech and sell it to the districts to have for each of the TLI sessions when we start training our club leaders to listen to this message carefully. As Yogi Berra says, we make too many wrong mistakes as leaders on our own. When we hear from leaders like Pat and other folks, we learn from their experience. For example, we learn from mistakes that she shared. We have all done that in our lives, and she also showed how we straighten that out. And I think if you motivate your club officers to speak from the heart, also lead from the heart, then they'll expect to be distinguished. And what's distinguished mean in a club? That means you as a leader are doing your job to motivate the members. Our founders, Ralph Smedley, said, ability to lead is to think ahead, look ahead, and plan ahead, and get the others to follow the plan to success. So thank you,
Greg, I'll tell you what, if they start paying me to do this, I'll send you your cut.
Yeah, well, I'll write up the proposal.
Okay, great. Thank you. Maya, you have a question or a comment?
Yes.
Thanks,
first
Greg.
of all, it was a wonderful speech, so thank you so much. And I've spoken about the heart. I put my hand on hearts in speeches here. I'm an emotional healing coach and spiritual healing. So this is all my kind of thing. And your speech resonated with me because today I put on my notes to contact my local chamber, and I was going to speak, and the speech was going to be called From Mindset to Heart Set. And one of the things that I do is corporate wellness. So I'm actually going to speak to corporations and try to explain that now we're in the age of the heart, and that you need compassion in the workplace. So this is exactly in line. So how in your line of work or in your experience, like how do you find the corporate world or the business world open now to understanding the importance of heart set compassion in leadership, especially with technology adding more stress to people's lives, is more important than ever to understand the power of leading with the heart, not only the good side of it, but the power and the effectiveness of leading with the heart.
Yeah. I think Maya, it's one of those challenges that we always have when we go out to potential clients, and it's how do we solve their major problem? And I don't think that most corporations want to do heart work to solve their major problems. But I think if we look at emotional intelligence, that's our answer, yours and mine. But that's not what they would see as the answer. So I look at it from their lens. If we put on their lens, they're probably looking at how to have employment engagement. So if we can wrap this type of thing, how do we build engagement with our employees? How do they connect with one another? How do we create engagement and loyalty within the workplace and to one another? That's all centered, heart-centered work, but they don't want those words. So we have to frame it in their language. But I agree that that's been the need for a long time. It's just more apparent now in my judgment. That's my judgment. Yeah. But I know when the last team that I had in the corporate world, I was called in and almost fired because I cared too much about my team. And I couldn't believe it. I said, that's what I'm here for. I'm the director of the department. My job is to care for my team and make sure that we can therefore deliver the product. And that was the end of the discussion. I didn't get fired, but I almost did. She was very angry with me, but that's who I was. So if I didn't fit, then I couldn't fit there. So yeah, good luck. Good luck in going there. Yeah, thank you. Nadine, Dr. Nadine.
Hi.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. And thank
Nice
you
to meet
for
you
coming to
too.
speak. My question for you is this. So what if, I appreciate the fact that you gave us your leadership journey. And so what if someone is deliberating to step up for district leadership? What advice would you give to that person? Because I know you spoke about your experience of trying for the club growth and then the other and
yeah.
you did. So what advice would you give to persons who are interested to step up, but they're deliberating?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for that question, because I get asked this a fair amount actually. And here's what I say. Don't do it because somebody wants you to do it or because you think you should do it. Do it because it's something that you know you will learn while doing and that you feel pulled to do. So again, this is an experience that I have because I have a physical experience in this. When I want to do something, I ask myself, or I look at doing something, I say, am I pulled to do it or do I feel pushed to do it? Does that make sense? Yeah. So sometimes our egos push us, or sometimes our need for recognition push us, or somebody's expectation of us pushes us. But do I feel pulled to do it? And I have every time listened to the pull, had a fabulous experience and found it hard work when I allowed myself to be pushed. Hope that helps.
Pat,
Good luck, whoever's exploring that.
We have one more.
Salim. Yeah, just Salim has his hand up and then we'll be done.
Yes.
If we can be quick.
I know. Where did Celine go?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Hold on one second.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you hear me okay?
Go ahead.
You have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. Pat, thank you so much. This. Okay. I don't know if I'm breaking up. I'm actually in Costa Rica right now, so I'm calling in. So I'm not sure if I'm breaking up or not. But my question is really brief. I just wanted to ask you, what additional resources would you recommend that employ upon us to be able to better speak from of kind of what you shared, but any external additional resources that you would personally recommend. And again, I just really want to thank you, acknowledge you, and appreciate you for taking the time to share.
Thank you so much. I appreciate your question and your quest for external resources. I would say that most of it for me is spiritual, whatever your spiritual practices are. So mine is meditation, sitting quietly, listening to my inner self speak. To take speeches that you write out in words that might be a flow of consciousness, then take them and speak them out loud and say, is this really what I'm saying? And don't get married to being right or being grammatically correct or anything. Speak down your speech instead of writing it down, because we use different language. And then test it again if that really feels like you. Sit with it. And I don't speak about things because they're put on a sheet, or I speak about things that inspire me. So I read a lot. I read every day. I read I read leadership people. I read psychologists. I read spiritual leaders. I read things that would inspire me. And then I listen to what comes up for me. And that's what I speak about. So explore yourself, but go deep inside yourself, because that's where we hide ourselves. Socially, we pack it away as we grow up. We're not to do this, we're not to do that, and you can't say that, and you don't do this. And we get it all packed away so neatly, and then we come out and we're like paper dolls. And so we have to let it all hang out. And that's the hard work, or it was for me for sure, because I was so disciplined. But yeah, and feel free to reach out if you want to have further discussion. I'll put my email in the box so that you can reach out to me if you've got further questions on that, and I'll maybe be able to think of some other external resources. Thanks everyone for your questions. Awesome.
Pat,
Over to you.
Pat,
Yes.
We are going to do the evaluation because we're lost, but we're trying to make really good time right now. And we're trying to get back on track. So we're going to have Steve come on up to do your evaluation.
Yep.
You are still muted, Steve.
You're ready right now?
You are ready right now.
All right, terrific. This is an honor. Thank you, Pat. And it's interesting because I took a lot of notes during the speech and I was prepared to evaluate the speech. And then there were all these nuggets that came from the questions and answers. So I'm going to do this to 2 to 3 minutes, but there's a lot to talk about and a lot of good things. Now, I have a theory about evaluating a great speaker, an experienced speaker like Pat, is we don't evaluate speakers and Toastmasters necessarily to find a bunch of flaws. What we do is we share ideas. A totally prepared speaker might not have thought of that might make the speech even better. So I'm going to talk about some really good things about the speech tonight. I've got some ideas, and it was, like I said, it was a pleasure listening to you. Now, you talked about 3 areas. You talked about overcoming disappointment. You talked about speaking from the heart, and you talked about authenticity. Authenticity particularly resonates with me because that's something I'm really working on. And you gave some personal examples, particularly you talked about the pride and the ego. And when you had the disappointments, if you were going to go into district leadership, if you were going to join the trio, it was going to be on your terms. And it sounds like the leader that recruited you had a chat and maybe brought you a little bit out of your ego, brought you a little bit out of your pride, and did the pull. And you mentioned the pull in the question and answers. You might put that in the speech. That maybe earlier I was pushing myself into leadership and I was gently pulled, and that changed everything. Speaking from the heart, that's a good one for all Toastmasters, because I've seen so many Toastmaster speeches where somebody gets stuck. they're giving a great speech and they get stuck because one word is missed. Where if they weren't worried about doing it word for word, they can go on because they know exactly what idea they're trying to express. So that could be personalized into Toastmasters. And then another area for speaking from the heart and authenticity. Sometimes if somebody says that to me, if they accuse me of not speaking from the heart or not being authentic, I might take offense. Like I was trying to pull something over on somebody. But sometimes the person that sounds inauthentic might really be working hard and might really be being earnest, understanding all the facts. And they've got all the facts in their head, but just gently moving into your heart and being more authentic will make those facts even better. So these are things, at the beginning, it sounds like a negative, but they're all learning experiences where people with good intentions can learn. And that's exactly what happened with you. It sounds like it was a major transformation because I know you as a speaker speaking from your heart and being authentic. I don't know you as somebody that wasn't speaking from your heart. So it seems like a major transformation. So Pat, thank you very much. I've got the red. I'm going to do the summation in the real evaluation contest, but I'm going to keep the meeting running on time now. So thank you very much, Pat. And I'll send the official feedback to you.
Thank you, Steve, and thank you, Pat, once again. Could we please get 1 minute on the clock for silence?
Time.
Thank you so much. You know, you've proven with your assessment of your speech, Pat, that you don't have to hit the ball hard to hit a home run, right? You just have to have good timing, and then it'll go. And you really proved that today. And hopefully everybody didn't just watch her speech, they actually listen to your speech, because the more you hear these type of speeches, the more you sink in, and hopefully it changes a couple of people. But I would like to now pass the virtual podium back to our general evaluator, if I can find her, Rosemary Sweeney. Anytime you want to, there she is. There's that smiling face. It's all yours.
Thank you so much, Mr. Toastmaster of the meeting. Based on the assessment of the previous section of the meeting, we had amazing evaluators, and the evaluators were amazing. So too were the speakers. And now we are going to have our evaluation portion of the meeting. It is said that evaluation is the breakfast of champions, and we are going to be evaluated on how we did with our role plays. At this time, I will call on our grammarian. Let's make her feel welcome. Toastmaster Sally, could you unmute your mic?
Can I be heard now?
Yes, sure.
Okay, I apologize. I was having a little trouble with my computer. Wow. I think practicing being in the heart is going to be an exciting challenge for all of us. I know I will spend a little time at this every day to try to keep myself out of my head and in my heart. That was a lovely, well prepared, exciting speech. Thank you. I had a little trouble hearing assessment too many times, but I've got a whole lot of words that the motivation and experiential impact and to be in your heart, leadership in an inside job. I think those clever, catchy phrases make a fantastic book. So write all those cute things down when you're in the middle of it. Emotional healing and self-discovery is something I can appreciate repeatedly. Thank you so much for enlightening us all. Back to you. Thank you, Rosemary.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sally, for your report on the grammarian and the words you listened to and heard. At this time, I will call on our timer, Toastmaster De Gregoire. It's De Gregoire, right?
Correct. De Gregoire.
De Gregoire. You can proceed with your report.
Thank you. Speaker number 1 was within time at 10 minutes and 37 seconds. Evaluator number 1 was within time at 3 minutes and 17 seconds. Speaker number 2 was over time at 11 minutes and 50 seconds. The Q&A went over time at 15 minutes. And the evaluation of speaker number 2 went over time at 3 minutes and 40 seconds. Back to you, Rosemary.
Thank you so much for your great listening skills and realizing that we have spoken over time. And as Toastmasters, that's what we are here to do. We are here to practice, and so we get our report. Yes? You're muted.
Yeah. Okay. One of the things that I did want to say is I noticed my hand came down a couple times, and I think Alex popped it back up. So I'm not sure if my colors were up at the top corner the whole time, because I did notice for some reason it came down a couple times. So I apologize for that if you didn't see it. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. What I was going to say, what we are here for is to practice, and practice makes progress. So we know how we spoke over time this time, and we are going to try to get it right the other time. And it is said that if at first you don't succeed, try and try again. So we are going to try and try and try until we get that speaking time under control. Our meeting, we had an amazing meeting based on my assessment. Our meeting was amazing. We had 2, can you imagine that? 2 in Dominica, we would have said 2 heartical speakers who spoke from the heart and encouraged us to practice doing just that. And I will practice trying to speak from my heart, because I don't know if I speak from my head or my heart. Sometimes I just speak. So I'll have to try put the rest in my hand here to know where it is coming from my heart. And at this time, I am going to call on our guests to tell us what do they think of our meeting, how was it for them, and I am already inviting you back. So if it was good, come, it will be better. And if it wasn't so good, come, we'll make it better for you. First guest, I will call on, what's your name? Tushan.
Yes, thank you very much. Good evening, all of you. So I'm Tushan Mahagadara from Colombo Toastmasters Club, Colombo, Sri Lanka. We are celebrating in 41st anniversary of our Toastmasters journey. I'm in the club last decade, and Mr. Arunachalam Balraj is my club member. He's the international president of 2017-18. So we are the first club in South Asian region, and I'm the VPPR at the moment. I'm very proud and happy to join with you. I would like to continue my journey with World Leaders Toastmaster. Definitely, I would love to join with you. Thank you so much and have a great day.
Thank you. Thank you. And could you just put your email in the chat so somebody can reach out to you? But I also think when you came in, the way we sign up, you get registered. But just to confirm, could you put your email in the chat, please? At this time, I know Toastmaster Paul, he was there a minute ago, but he may be left because it is like 2 a.m. where he is. So I will call on our other guests. We're going counter. Steve, Toastmaster Steve.
I had a great time. I thank Cynthia for inviting me. It was wonderful. I thank Pat for giving the speech and allowing me to evaluate it. And I see my area director, Dee Marie, is here. So hi, Dee Marie. So it was good to see you tonight. So and I just enjoyed being here. So thank you very much.
Thank you, and do come again. I see Paul is back with us. Paul, can you tell us what you got from our meeting and how did you enjoy it?
I got a burst of motivation, meaning that as I was listening to you all communicating with each other, I thought, there's great stuff going on while I'm asleep. And I thought to myself, well, this is an example of the great stuff that's going on all over the world in different time zones. People connecting, people supporting each other, and people doing their best to communicate their best stuff. I really thought, well, it was well worth staying up. I have to admit that it's been a while since I've been in the company of Pat Johnson, and that was a big attraction, I have to admit. But Rosemary, I have to say that I should have remembered that you're president of this club, and I'm giving myself a good ticking off for not visiting more often. So back to you, and thank you and everybody else at the meeting very, very much.
Okay, so thank you for staying up with us. And I will now call on our other guest. Where is he? He was there 1 minute ago. Toastmaster Scott, distinguished Toastmaster Scott.
Well, thank you, Rosemary, and certainly, first of all, Madam Past International President and fellow Toastmasters of the worldwide leaders. And Cynthia, thank you for the invite to come today. I really enjoyed it. Thank you so kindly for thinking of me and remembering me. As I looked at the club meeting today, I thought of Toastmasters Promise number 7. Number 7, to treat my fellow Toastmasters and guests with respect and courtesy. And you certainly did that as a club. And that is so kind of you to accept all of us as guests today that we showed up. I felt like I belonged here. You made me feel comfortable. And even though I can be a very difficult individual, I certainly enjoyed the format of the flow of the club. Madam Toastmaster, you ran an impeccable meeting, kept in control, and the flow of the club was outstanding. both our speakers and our evaluators really made this club sparkle today and shine of it. But I really want to point out one thing that I observed is what each of you were excellent audience participants. Your attention, your focus was on point. And I think that when we attend meetings like this, that where else can you think of going to speak with such a wonderful audience that understands you? So thank you. Keep it up. Stay strong, stay mission focused. And again, I look forward to joining you someday. Madam Toastmaster.
We are already awaiting you to join us. And at this time, I will call our family, Michelle.
Thank you, Rosemary. I really enjoyed this, and I'm very grateful to Cynthia for inviting me at such short notice to join you tonight and practice giving evaluations. Clearly, I could use more practice and try to limit my comments and try not to get all my comments in. And also to learn how nice it is to have 5 minutes to prepare in the evaluation speech contest instead of only 1 minute. But I really, really enjoyed Pat's presentation and would love to have her come to my club. I don't know that that's possible, but boy, her talk about leadership and what you need to do to really develop that authentic leadership was so impactful, and her stories were wonderful. Pat, you really conveyed to Maya what I was trying to say about incorporating the stories in your lessons and your learning, and that really makes it pop. And I think that, oh no, one more thing. Cynthia, your comment about when you won the evaluation contest, you spoke to the speaker with love. You held her in your heart and spoke to her with love. And I will remember that in my evaluation next time. And back to you, Madam President.
Thank you so much for your response. And now we are going to call on our past international president, distinguished Toastmaster Pat, again to tell us something. How can we really get that hat speaking?
Thank you, Madam President. I've already taken so much of your time, but I do want to comment on your theme tonight, because I didn't do earlier and I wasn't aware of it. But I, this spring, went to training camp baseball games in just outside of Tampa, in the ballparks there. And I saw the New York Yankees play the Toronto Blue Jays. And so Yoga Berra, of course, was long past, but I cheered on the New York Yankees and the Toronto Blue Jays at Rhinestener Park a couple of weeks ago at training camp. So happy that I was able to do that. And it was great playing with all of you, playing Toastmasters tonight with you, and as always, learning new rules and new ways to play the game. So thank you so much for your gift of attention and time, and best wishes in your club and each one of your journeys. Thank you. And thank you for all your comments as well, Madam President.
Thank you, and thank you for coming to our club. We hope to see you soon again, not too long from now. At this time, our meeting, well, we started on time with our meeting. Our meeting started on time. Everything flowed smoothly. It is just that some of our speakers and evaluators went over time. And as I said earlier, practice makes progress. So we are going to try to speak within time at our next meeting. Our word of the day assessment was used, our grammarian was on point, our timer was on point, our speakers were on point. Our meeting on a whole was on point, and this is what we are here to do, to learn, because continuous learning is what we are all about, and we can never know everything, because every day things are changing. And when we come to a Toastmasters meeting, we learn so much, and that's when I tell my friends and try to encourage them to come to Toastmasters, because those are things you we'll probably have to sit in a university to learn, or in a school or in a class somewhere, and here is it. You're getting it, and we'll invest in moments of enjoyment. So sometimes you would go to a class and find, boy, that is so difficult to understand. But when you hear it from a Toastmaster in your own language, you understand it. So we encourage everyone to bring someone to a Toastmasters meeting. Let them know what Toastmasters have to offer. No longer can it be said it is the best kept secret. It is on Facebook, it is on Instagram, it is all over social media. But then sometimes things which are proper for us, we try to keep it aside and keep it aside. Sometimes not for our fault, but some of us can be very, very shy. Like before, I was a very shy person, and people tell me, no, you were not. And I tell them, yes, I could speak within my little group, but when I come to speak to a crowd, I would not have voice. I know my voice would disappear at a certain time. Unlike now, and that's how I speak about Toastmasters. And I thank everyone for coming. At this time, I will call on Toastmaster Cassandra to see if she can organize our meeting for our next meeting.